Hi, everybody. I'm Jen Johnson, and you are watching Thought by Thought Healing. I use this platform to get as much information out there as I can about the process of going from chronic pain to healing and reversing your chronic symptoms. I do this because I have a story of healing from chronic pain that really had stolen my whole life from me, and so I like to just get this hope out there. I also do chronic pain coaching on the side. And if you're looking for somebody to help you get you started on that journey of healing and you're ready for the commitment, then you should reach out. My website is thoughtbythoughthealing.com. And but like I was saying, I try to get as much info out there as I can for you to just listen to and get going on your journey on your own. So today I want to talk about the idea of having a vision for your healing. When we are in chronic pain, we are in a chronic threat response or fight or flight nervous system activation. There's dysregulation. The brain is perceiving, not necessarily in danger, but it is perceiving that you are in danger either from your past or something you've learned that something may be dangerous and when it is in fact not. It can happen from personality traits such as perfectionism, people-pleasing, being self-critical, being others critical. All these things really add up to a threat response in our brains. And when you start looking at brain science, you realize that pain is caused when you are in threat mode, regardless of whether it's physical or emotional, mental, spiritual danger. And I use that word danger with quotes because sometimes we are in danger and sometimes we're not, and we get to kind of correct our brains and take control and take responsibility for how our nervous system is reacting and teach it another way. But your brain is wired to respond when you're triggered, and that is part of the autonomic nervous system, which means that it is pre-conscious. So it's before you're conscious that you are feeling a certain distressing, in danger emotion. Your brain will automatically respond and send a message through that sympathetic nervous system of fight or flight or freeze, fawn. And before you know it, the brain recognizes that it's in danger and sends a pain signal or a chronic fatigue signal or some sort of message. It's really basically a message to you saying, hey, something's wrong here. And sometimes that's right and you need to make changes in your life. But most of the time, with most of my clients, it's that it's a perceived threat. It's a perceived danger. It's a maybe being triggered by things that remind you of your past when you were experiencing danger, or that you were taught that something is in fact dangerous, when it's not really. And so you get to take control and teach your brain another way. But people often understand that, but the question is like, well, how? And a big part of that is having a vision. What are you working towards? If you, let's just say, I'm going to make up an analogy. Let's just say you go to work every day and you take the freeway, and then you realize the freeway is the worst way to get there. And you decide one day that you're going to switch. And so you're going to stop using the freeway. But you don't use Maps or Google or Waze and figure out a different way to get there. You just wake up in the morning, you go to work. Well, if you haven't planned how to get there, you're going to use the old way. And that's what's happening with our neural pathways. This is how pain gets memorized. Your brain is wired to respond to certain situations as if you are, quote, in danger. And I recognize that you might not feel that danger in your body, but if you take the time to look at what is happening subconsciously, and that's the key. We often we're always unaware of our subconscious emotions. I mean, that statement may seem like a duh statement, but it is true. And until we do the work to recognize the subconscious thought patterns and emotions that we're feeling, we don't recognize it. That's where the commitment of healing comes in. Are you ready and willing to do I'm going to call it work, or the opportunity to look at those subconscious ways of operating, so that then after you detect those, you can say, okay, brain, I see that we're wired, and you are wired, and the brain has memorized this response. And now those feelings, that pain, that anxiety, those symptoms, the tiredness, the insomnia, whatever, they are the brain's predictive coding is what it's called, of the memorized message that it's sending to you. And so after you acknowledge that subconscious way of being, then you can teach your brain a new way that you want to operate. And so that at that point in time, it is very powerful and very helpful to start to assume that you are going to start healing and expect to heal, and to have a vision of what healing looks like. I'm going to come back to that expectation point in a minute, but to take some time to really think about what do you want your life to look like? What do you want to be able to do? What kind of activities do you want to enjoy and be free to do? What does a daily life look like for you? What kind of personality traits do you want to have? Oftentimes we think we're stuck with our personality traits, and we're actually not. Personality traits are learned. So what do you want to be? How do you want to show up when things get stressful? Like when things get hard, imagining in the future how you are going to both physically and emotionally and mentally respond to hard times is really important to have that vision. That what kind of character traits do I want to have? What kind of places do I want to have joy? How do I want to incorporate play into my life? And I actually think this part is really important, because it's not about letting go of the pain. That activity, that intention of letting go of the pain will actually wire the pain. And I'm going to say that again, trying to get rid of the pain, being frustrated by the pain, being scared of the pain, especially if you're already on your healing journey and pain shows up and you're like, wait, I've been fighting against this. That activity of trying to get rid of it doesn't work. It actually wires it, and it becomes a more of a threat to your body. Whereas if instead the letting go is instead searching for, a pursuing of your dreams and the things that you want, then that is teaching your brain a new way. But if you don't have a vision of the new way, then you're going to go back to this old way. So instead of fighting to get rid of pain by going to the doctors and doing these activities and this, I don't know, these supplements and these different ways of approaching to try to get rid of it, instead we want to actually pursue those healing hormones. What brings you joy? What brings you peace in the body? What do you want to have in your life as part of your daily life and your character? That is the avenue that we want to be pursuing when it comes to healing. So for me, I knew immediately that I was really interested in the brain and how it worked and what was happening with pain science and what other areas of my life does this mind-body connection affect. And it's quite... It's really interesting. And so I found that to be really fascinating in my life. And I spent a lot of time pursuing that by reading books and listening to things and taking classes and courses from other experts in the field and writing my own program for healing, that kind of stuff. I really devoted a lot of my time towards understanding the brain. And so for you, it won't be the same as mine, but what is a goal? I have a client the other day was like, I want to write a book about how the ways I've seen God show up in my life. And that's a beautiful vision to redirect your life towards. So what is it that catches your interest? And if there's not something that pops up immediately, maybe spend some time thinking about what interests that you had in the past, or that you let go of because of pain, maybe even when you were a child before things started going awry, or if you don't have anything from your past, just think of something new that you could cultivate an interest in. I do actually think that we can cultivate interest and things that we're passionate about by being curious and being I'm going to use the word again, interested in. And it basically gives your brain a space, a new pathway, a new vision to put that energy instead of over here to the pain, because we have a limited amount of energy in our brains and it's going to go somewhere, and we can't just stop it from going this way. Maybe water is a good example of this. Like, you can't just stop water. It's going to go someplace. And so you want to direct it, because if you don't have another place for it to go, it will continue to go in the way that river or stream has been going. And the same is true of your pain and the way that your brain and your thoughts and your emotions and your belief systems are wired. And so that redirection, that new vision, and the healing process no longer has anything to do with letting go of the pain. It has to do with the new way of operating and the truth. And that's why I find God to be so powerful in this process, because what life does God have for you? What does he get to claim? What has he freed you from? And in place of that freedom from, what is he freeing you to? And that's the life that we get to pursue as people, but I think specifically when God gives us that vision, sometimes it's really powerful. So what do you want? And work towards that. Going back to that piece about expectation, if we are continually expecting that pain to come back, that expectation actually activates the very part of your brain that does dysregulate the nervous system and therefore sends the pain. So that shift of expecting now to have this new life that you're creating and envisioning and want is cutting off the expectation of your life being full of pain. And that hope can be scary, right? Because hope can disappoint. But hopefully you can borrow mine. If you don't have some of your own. I know that this works, and I know that you can heal. And so stopping the expectation of a life of pain, and instead starting to expect that your pain is going to go away, you are going to heal. But even more than that, you are expecting that you are going to have this life that you want and start living towards it regardless of the pain. So sometimes when we start going towards this vision, there's still pain, and it's discouraging and scary. But we want to slowly start making this vision come true, whether you have the pain or not. And the pain will start to literally see, your brain will start to literally see that you feel safe in your skin, in this new life, in this new vision. And we want to do this slowly. You want to use graded exposure, but to slowly introduce your life to these awesome visions that you have for your future, and expect that instead. And therefore the water will start to flow there. The energy will start to flow there. Your brain will wire to those things, and your brain will then see, she's safe in this environment. I no longer need to warn her with the pain. Does that all happen overnight? Absolutely not. Let's say you're weight training. You just started weight training and you go to the gym, and every day you start measuring your muscles. Not going to see any change immediately. It definitely takes time. And the way that you want to be encouraged during this time of healing is encouraged that you're doing the work, encouraged that you're showing up, encouraged that you're choosing to expect healing, that you are choosing a life of hope instead of despair and cyclical patterns of life. And it takes courage. It does. It definitely takes courage to take this route, but you can do it. And that kind of talk is the kind of talk that you want to encourage yourself with too. I can do this. I can choose this route even if I have symptoms for a while, and trust that as I pursue these goals and let go of thinking about the pain, then this life that I'm wanting to have will happen. This is all neuroscience, and it's also the things that God gets to claim. God says that we get to claim about our lives. We do not have to live a life of pain and anxiety. We get to choose a new vision, and that may sound not real, and yet it is. We do have the choice to choose hope and choose love, compassion, kindness, goodness, joy, all those things. and stop focusing on and trying to get rid of all these things, instead going for what we know to be good and true. So create a vision for your life and start introducing it into your daily routine, and watch and see what happens. All right, thanks you guys. Check out my website, thoughtbythoughthealing.com, and I'll see you next week. I think next week I have Dr. David Hanscom on this channel. So I hope that you enjoy that, and I hope that you enjoyed today's. All right, see you later. Bye.